guys, and what is up? Today we're doing something a little different. We're going to talk about how to handle when you get a bad review from a client. So maybe it's a client that you're serving, maybe it's someone who took your course, maybe you just see this random review pop up online that is just not exactly the most fun to see. So we're going to talk about how to handle it and what you should do. And the first thing that I do want to say is it's going to be different for every single review that this happens with, right? It depends on whether you were in contact with a client first. It depends on whether it's the first time you're seeing it. It depends on the situation. But the first thing I want you guys to keep in mind and to do when you first get a bad review is to not respond to it. I know that sounds it's actually an inaction, but don't respond to any emails, any bad reviews right away. You want to give yourself at least 24 hours to process it, to think about it, to really just think about what you want to say and how you want to handle it before you respond. Because if you respond any sooner than that, then you're going to respond out of emotions more than you're going to respond thinking it through from a business perspective of how you need to handle it. So I really encourage you, do not respond right away. I know for me, it takes me at least a full day to just sit through, think about it, ask some friends about it, some really close friends that I can bounce off what I should do and how I should handle it. Anytime I get something negative in my inbox or I get a negative reviews from someone, this is the first thing that I'm doing. So eventually, if a client has not already reached out to you about whatever they're upset about, and the first time you're hearing about it is online in a review, I would really encourage you to, one, reach out to the client privately first. So before you even respond to the comment publicly, make sure you respond or reach out to the client and see if there's anything you can do to make it better. I know for me, I have had one review in my photography business over the past, I guess, 4 or 5 years that they still gave me 4 stars, but they definitely had some negative things to say about working with me. And I didn't know about it until they shared about it in their review online. And I think the best thing to do in that situation is, one, again, take 24 hours to think about it, pray about it, ask people about it, reflect on it, and eventually reach out to them first and ask to make it right and ask them what you can do to make it right. And if there's anything you can do. And I think if they don't give any ideas, or if you go back and forth and you want to offer something, I ended up offering like a print credit into my gallery that they could use in the store. You could offer some extra spreads. You could offer a reshoot. There's just so many, it totally depends on the situation, right? This is just from the perspective of being a photographer and the situation I was in. Those are kind of the options that I have that I can do to try to make it right. You need to make them know that you genuinely care about them. I think that has to come above anything, above who's right or who's wrong. Making sure that they know that you genuinely care about them, that you're still there to serve them and you're still there to help them. But make sure you're keeping that at the forefront of everything, of just wanting to do it gracefully and to not just trying to make them feel like even if you are completely in the right and you didn't necessarily do anything wrong, still reach out to them in the sense of really just being compassionate and having empathy and understanding where they were coming from, even if technically they just didn't understand how things worked, or maybe they were the ones who broke the contract first, right? Just making sure you're still coming at it from a level-headed perspective and not bringing emotions into it at all. And then one thing I encourage you to do is actually to respond to the review publicly. And ideally you would respond to all your reviews so it doesn't look like you're just responding to the negative ones. But even if that you're only responding to that one, I think it is still important. But the important thing to do with that is to respond to it without being defensive whatsoever. I think if you respond to it with so much grace and just understanding and just something really simple along the lines of, I am so sorry you did not have a good experience with me. I would love to know how I can make it right. I've reached out to you via email and I would love to chat about it more. So it's telling people who see the review publicly, like, one, you haven't talked about it with the client yet, so they were just posting about how they were feeling online before reaching out to you, and it wasn't something that they had brought to your attention before. But two, it's not being defensive at all. By no means would I would highly encourage you to not include anything that says along the lines of, contractually, this is what we agreed to, and this is why the client's wrong, or this is why I'm in the right and why they're wrong. I wouldn't go into really any of the details in your response. I think what is stronger and what makes a bigger impact to the people reading it is that if you're responding with understanding and handling it very well, and you're not responding with any defensiveness, I think that comes across super well. And lastly, I want to give you guys some encouragement that one negative review in a C sea of amazing reviews is not going to do anything. And I think it can be super disheartening to get a bad review, especially if you're anything like me and you pour so much into yourself, into serving your clients and doing it well, that getting a bad review with something negative in that and you just feel really crushing, and like you poured so much of yourself into this and they were still unhappy. But I really want to encourage you that it doesn't define your worth. It doesn't define how successful your business is, and that you're still going to be successful regardless of if you have one bad review. And honestly, I think it makes you look a little more human, right? Nobody's perfect. You're not going to have every single client think that you're perfect. And I think it's totally okay. And it's going to be okay. And I can say that with confidence because my negative review was in my second year of running my business. Honestly, it might have been within my first year of running it. And I'm in my 5th year of business and still doing great. And at this point, I have like 50 to 60 reviews online, and all the rest of them are just raving reviews. So that one bad review has not stopped any clients from booking me and from working with me. And I think a lot of people recognize that if there's just one bad review, likely it was just something that was out of the photographer or the business owner's control, or just some really sticky circumstances that they weren't able to work through. And that's okay, because everyone's human and no one's going to be perfect. And I know that was really hard for me to handle at first, and I was very devastated to have a negative review, thinking it could crush my business. But trust me, it's not going to. You're going to be totally fine. You're still going to have clients who love you and who are going to book you, and your business is going to grow and you're going to do amazing things. So if this video encouraged you and gave you some ideas on how to handle when you get a bad review, give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe to my channel, because it helps more people like you to see this video, and it helps to support my channel and for more people to see it, which is super awesome. And I just want as many people to see this as possible. So drop a comment down below. Let me know. I'd love to answer any questions you have on this topic, because I know it can be really sticky, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.